Your obsession with flexibility is the reason why you're stuck. We're going to get into this, but I'm just going to make a brew first. So this is actually the only fat loss hack you really need, but no one really wants to do it. If you're new here, I'm Rachel, an online coach and personal trainer, helping women get fit, strong, and look and feel better in their 30s and 40s than they did in their 20s. Now, I speak to a lot of women about this. They think the answer is more motivation, another meal plan, another diet, different set of macros. But the actual thing that's needed is structure. And the reason you feel stuck is because you're chasing flexibility before you've actually earned it. So one of the biggest patterns that I see with the women that I work with is the constant overthinking around food. No routine, no consistency, every day looks different. Some days you skip breakfast, some days it's a croissant and a latte on the way to work, some days you manage to have breakfast at home, lunch is then whatever you can grab. Meal deal out, a small little pot of soup, or sometimes skipped entirely and then snacking all afternoon. And tea depends on how tired you are, how bothered you can be to make something. And then you say you just want balance and flexibility. Does any of this resonate? Because let me ask you this, how is that working out for you? Here's the thing, right? Fat loss doesn't get any easier the more options that you add in. You don't need more saved recipes from Instagram. You don't need a whole bank of ideas and things to try and things to add into your diet. Fat loss, getting in shape, gets so much easier when you remove the decisions, you remove the overthinking, and you remove the overwhelm. Structure and routine is the actual hack. So what does that look like? So I'm going to talk through a 3-step system that you can implement right away. Step 1 is to create the structured meal times that work for you. There is none of this eating whenever happens. Decide when you're going to have your breakfast, your lunch, your evening meal within a window. Decide whether you're having 3 meals a day with a snack, 2 snacks, 5 small meals, whatever works for you. I generally find that if women eat properly at meals, there is less desire for snacking, and that is also a really easy way of helping fat loss happen. But decide what works for you and your lifestyle, working situation, what that looks like. When you have that framework, so say it is 3 meals a day with a snack in the afternoon, snack in the evening before bed, look at what calories you have and divvy those up across those meals. So if you've got 800 calories, for instance, you might have 500 at breakfast, a 400 calorie lunch, another 500 calories for your evening meal, and then you have 400 calories to play with for your 2 snacks, drinks, little extras. When you know that, that is your structure that you can then stick to. Step 2. And this is the biggest one, and this is the biggest amount of time you're going to spend, but once you do it, it will be done and it will be easier going forward. And that is creating your meal rotation. Now, this is where a lot of people will resist because they think it means boring. They think they need all this variety. You know, I'm a foodie, I like my food, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, babe, so am I, but I also want to be in good shape and make eating well as easy as possible for myself. You can have flexibility when you are in the shape that you want to be and you're maintaining that physique. It is so much easier to have the flexibility then. So buckle up and get on with it. You need 2 to 3 breakfast options. So that might be a weekday breakfast and a weekend breakfast. It might be a warm breakfast and a cold breakfast. It might be a working from home breakfast and a working in the office breakfast. That is it. You don't need 20 different breakfast ideas. 2 to 3 is fine. You then need like 2 to 5 lunch ideas, 2 to 5 evening meal ideas. Now look, you can have more of all of these, but it's just a bit more time again at the front end planning. but then you want them on a short rotation. So it means in any given week, you might only be having 2 or 3 lunches that you then, and then the following week, that switches up slightly. But you're on a rotation week by week or every couple of weeks. There's numerous ways that you can do it, but it's just about having a small bank of meals that are your go-tos, that fit with your calories, that you know the ingredients, you can prep them, you can track them, and it makes it really simple. So every day you're not trying to think of, what am I going to eat today? What should I have for dinner tonight? What snacks do I want to take? It's all predetermined, and that's not the same thing every single day, but it's a handful of things that are the similar things that you eat every single day, and you just rotate between them. You might switch up the spicing, the flavouring, you might switch up the vegetables in there. Again, there's a scope for variation, but this helps make it as simple as possible to stick to, because that's the overwhelming thing. So once you've written your options, your ingredients, you know what's going into that. You know, for instance, your overnight oats recipe, how much yogurt, how many oats, how much milk as your base, is there protein powder in there? You know all the ingredients, and that is set. Step 3 is then to log that. So that is either you can do it manually in the sense of creating all these recipes that you know the ingredients, so it helps when you're shopping, you know what the macronutrients are, and you can keep that in a document that you follow. There's actually going to be one below. Or to then use that and input it into MyFitnessPal or whatever tracking app that you use, where you can create meals in there. That is your overnight oats recipe, it's your chicken wrap recipe, it's your tuna salad recipe, it's your spaghetti bolognese recipe. Have those all there. You then know what the ingredients are, you know what that looks like, you then know from a tracking perspective what that is. So you're not having to spend hours every day logging on MyFitnessPal. It's just meal select, meal select, meal select. Job done. Because then what you can do is you can pre-populate. Another big problem is people eating all day and then sitting at night trying to remember what they have eaten. Pre-log your meals. You're also then therefore not going to be surprised when you've gone over your calories. You've pre-logged everything that you're having, or the majority of your meals, and then you might keep the flexibility for whatever snack you might fancy that day. But you know, well, I've got 300 calories for a snack, so what do I want to fit into this? Rather than eating everything and then having to backtrack when it gets to the evening and you've only got a couple of 100 calories to have your evening meal. Make sense? And this is the thing, right? You don't have to track forever, but this will give you the framework to then know week to week what you're having, how to do it, how to structure it. Yes, it's some brain work right now. It's brain work the day that you decide the meals that you're going to have on rotation. That's going to take some time. That's going to take some effort. It's going to take a little bit of time to input everything into MyFitnessPal so that you've got meals there. But once that's done, the day-to-day is going to be so much easier. And this is how you'll create your deficit without thinking about it. This is how it's going to become easy. And once you are doing that and you are consistently doing that and you are getting the progress that you want to make and you're getting the body that you want and you're then living in that body and you're like, do you know what, I don't need to be in a deficit anymore. I'm happy where I am, or I need to eat at maintenance now because I want to try and build a little bit more muscle. Guess what? Then you can have more flexibility in your diet. The mistake people make is thinking that they have to be super careful with everything they're eating and super meticulous forever. You don't. You just need to do it for a period of time to get the result that you want. When you're in the body and you're maintaining it, it is so much easier to have flexibility. And I cannot stress this enough. You can have the pastry. And look, equally, when you follow this structure, you can then still implement. If throughout the week you are so consistent because you're following this plan, you can think, right, okay, on Saturday I am going to have a bit more flexibility. I'm still going to be within my calories, but I've structured all week and I'm going to structure how I'm going to have a nice pastry at the weekend, or I'm going out for an evening meal, so I'm going to have this, without every day being a constant battle and a constant stress and trying to claw back calories all the time. Make it as simple as you can. If your food currently feels chaotic, if you feel overwhelmed and stressed and hate the idea of thinking about food, this is the fix. Not a motivation, not another plan, not something to white knuckle, some structure that you create based off meals that you like and you are going to eat consistently. Click the link below for a document summary of everything I've just talked about and somewhere you can start implementing your recipe structure right away. Hope this helps. Reach out if you've got any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.